your health headlines this morning. This is a big topic that maybe you've seen the headline. The fertility rate in the U.S. has hit an all-time low. New data from the CDC showing the fertility rate in 2024 was actually less than 1.6 births per woman. Woman, I should say.
Joining us this morning to help us kind of understand what's behind this decline is 12 News medical expert Dr. Payal Kohli. Okay, so Dr. Kohli, when you look at these numbers, how big of a decline is it really, and what are some contributing factors?
You know, ladies, we have been looking over the last several decades, and what we've noticed is that even though it had been fluctuating, the last 20 years have really seen sort of a gradual decline in the fertility rate. And the way that we define it is how many children does an average woman have? And in order to maintain your generation, an average woman needs to have 2.1 children, right? Because she accounts for herself and for the male population as well. But what we see now that it's gone down to 1.6, which means that we're not even replacing our own generation. And a large contributor of this, I would say probably the largest contributor, is that women are just delaying marriage and childbearing. And career and other responsibilities are getting in the way. And that's made it so that we have more infertility, less women able to get pregnant. Right. But I will also say the economic impact of the fact that inflation has made everything more expensive. A lot of people struggle for healthcare, for housing, for those types of things. Many people are actually choosing not to have children.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting when you say that you're looking at all of those factors, right? Because a lot of the world is dealing with some of those factors. So when you look at our fertility rate compared to the world, how does that look? Where do we stack up?
So, you know, we tend to be on par with some of the developed countries. We're actually doing a little better than many of the European countries. And what we're starting to see is what would happen in the future if our fertility rate continued to decline the way that it has been declining for the last 2 decades. We're starting to see countries like Japan and Italy actually having trouble getting enough workforce because there aren't enough young people, because they tend to have very low fertility rates as well. So I don't think it's reason for alarm quite yet, but certainly what we're seeing is the trend is suggesting that in the next 5 to 10 years, more and more women will choose not to have children. It won't just be the burdens that prevent them from having children, and the impact that that might have on our entire U.S. population could be something we need to start paying attention to.
You know, Dr. Kohli, I've got a lot of friends who are going through their fertility journeys and having to deal with, you know, infertility and everything that comes with that, and how expensive it is if you are infertile and then you have to go different routes. What is your recommendation to women just in general? Is there a specific age that we should think about freezing our eggs? So just it ensures some sort of a future. Are there foods that we should avoid? Are there any just advice or things that we should start to put in our minds so that we can be on a path that just opens up options?
You know, I'm so glad you asked me that question, because I also have a lot of friends. And for a lot of us women, especially women that have a career, we don't start thinking about fertility until our 30s or until we meet a partner. But really the time to start thinking about it is in your early 20s. And what I want every woman to do, and I want you to talk to your daughters and all the women in your lives about this, is start to make a fertility map so that you're really very active about your decision whether or not you want to have children with or without a partner, and what that looks like for you. Because as you pointed out, it might make sense for many of us, now that we have the egg freezing technology, to actually start to put a pause on that biological clock, bank away some of those eggs in our 20s, which is when our body was really designed to carry pregnancies, in our teens and 20s. So that's when our eggs are the healthiest, not wait till your 30s and then worry about getting egg donors and getting surrogates and what have you. I also would caution women to not use oral contraceptives or birth control pills, because what we're seeing is that women who've been on, the pill for many, many years, they turn off their ovulation, and it can affect the way not just their ovulation comes back on, but also, even as a cardiologist, I see it affects how their blood vessels heal themselves and their cardiovascular risk in the long term as well. So really turning to other forms of contraception, whether it be an IUD or talking to your OBGYN about other ways.
Yeah, and just even knowing that opened up the conversation, right, about different contraceptives and what they can mean down the line. Now, it's interesting, while you were telling us, kind of about all of the different things we should have in our minds if, we want those options, I was just looking at, the global scale of things. And it said China is now offering $500 a year to families to boost declining birth rates there. So that's, when you're talking about developed countries and kind of how that pans out. And also talking about the age, it looks like women in their 40s are now giving birth more than teens are giving. For the first time, we have seen this. And as you talk about, I mean, women are waiting. I just find it so interesting that the biological age for women versus the societal age that we, have are kind of coming to a head, but they're also at odds here.
They're very much at odds. And, even the Trump administration has offered baby bonuses. There's been discussion of that as well, just here in the United States. But what I would say is that if you want to have a child, the optimal time to carry is your 20s and 30s. And as a cardiologist and as someone who sees women struggle with infertility, I don't think women should be carrying in their 40s and 50s because it significantly increases the risk of complications, especially to mom, but also to baby as well. And you're talking about conditions like peripartum cardiomyopathy, where the heart gets weak, more blood clots, more risk of something called preeclampsia, where the baby's not getting enough blood flow and you have to do an early delivery. So I really encourage women to, like I said, be very thoughtful about how that fertility journey looks for them. Don't just passively wait for life to happen and then you kind of stumble upon it and then you have regrets, but really plan out what that looks like in your 20s so that your 30s you can decide to carry that pregnancy if you want to. But as a physician, my concern is also that science has opened up fertility to so many people, and just because you can have the resources to have a baby, should you? So I do think we also need to be very mindful about telling women that sometimes it's okay not to be able to have a child. There's this tremendous pressure on women to be everything and do everything, and somehow they feel like their worth is tied to their fertility. And if for any reason you're struggling with infertility, I want the message for the women out there to be, that's okay. Not everybody is designed to carry a baby, and there are other ways to be a parent if you do decide that you want to have a child.
Dr. Kohli, I feel like we could talk about this endlessly because there are so many facets, to it. And we hear, some of us ladies have discussions about this too, just how many of our friends are having babies so much later. So thank you, Dr. Payal Kohli. We appreciate your in-depth look as we talk about the declining birth rate here in the U.S.
Yeah.